Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of the Strength Hammer podcast. I'm Chuck Moore, your host, along with my two good friends, Matt and Neil. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
We lost our fourth member, Sean. He's now a Twitch streamer over at Brush for Hire, Twitch TV/Brush for Hire. I think I'm too lazy to look it up or put it in the show notes.
Yep, that's it.
But we'll bring him on whenever we want to talk painting because he's not much of a gamer, but he is our resident commission painter in our area. So long, Sean. But we're gonna count you as a what's that word I'm looking for?
Douche.
Sponsor. No, we're gonna go with sponsor just so I can make him give me money once he starts rolling in it. He's a commission painter. He's just gonna make millions, right?
Mm-hmm. Or paint millions.
So, if you're keeping track and following along at home, this is the second episode in 5 months. So we're doing great, guys, and that's all on me. Bit off more than I can chew, and I'm trying to figure out how to do it. So this podcast format is going to change a little bit. It's still going to be about hobby and a little bit about fitness, but mostly it's just going to be a couple guys with opinions talking like every other podcast. But to begin, let's take a look at what we've been hobbying for the past 5 months. Neil, you have a new love. What's been going on for 5 months for you?
I have been busying away on Karajan Overlords recently. And if you know anything about me, I have been an elf player in Old Fantasy for a long time, and more recently been in Chaos and Death for a while. So this is completely new. Something I've kind of been interested in, but with the new book coming and everything, I decided to dive full in. So it's gun haulers, and more gun haulers, and a couple other things that I'm working on right now. So,
yeah, has Teclis swayed you back at all with the announcement, some model viewing?
You're opening up a can of worms here, Chuck. No.
Yes, open it. No, open it. Let's open it.
I just.
How does that make you feel?
It's cool looking model. I like the direction that they went with it. I can't really get over the placement of Teclis on the model. It's like he's kind of tiptoeing over the wing there, and I don't know, the pants throw me off for some reason too. I just
I will tell you, I agree. I think it's a beautiful sculpt. I think everything on it looks great, but at the same time, I do think it's an interesting placement. I'm expecting to see a lot of conversions with that. I kind of wish they would have just separated the two, so you could have the Teclis model and you could have this, super cool Sphinx thing. Mm-hmm. But again, at the same time, I understand wanting a god to have a little bit bigger than a 32 mil base.
Right. If they would have done something like
Valerio. Let's say it kind of reminds me of Valerio, like on top of it. I'm mostly worried about his placement, not for looks. I like how he is, and actually his pose is very reminiscent of his classic 8th edition fantasy sculpt. But for transport, I don't think I'd want to glue him where he's at.
I might need a magnet somewhere there, a real strong magnet.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But,
I'm sure the Tyrion model will be great. Huh?
Yeah, if I was to get that model, you might see. I'd have to do maybe some swirly magic bits or something. I don't know if I could do them both together. That's probably what I was hoping for is something like that, something ultimate magic, Teclis, just But I don't know.
I saw someone on Twitter do a nice little Photoshop. Oh, not nice, but a simple Photoshop where they took the Celestant Prime's magic and Nagash's magic and put Teclis on that. So maybe that's something like that if that's what you're after. And then
that would be cool. Mm-hmm.
Did the rest of the range capture you at all? The old classic.
I thought the new sculpts were amazing. I love the update that they've done to them. So I used to own about 6,000 points of high elves. So I've painted a lot of that already. And I think what I was hoping for was maybe something a little bit more AOS and less horsey. I guess I was a little disappointed with the horses. But again, the sculpts are amazing. I like how detailed the sculpts are. That Spirit of Eltharion model is just incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's whether I collect the army or not, I'm going to have that guy. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was looking for something maybe a little bit more, in the direction of like Caradron Overlords. Like, it's just something we haven't seen before, and having painted 6,000 points of something very much like that, I don't know if I'm up for that a second time or not. Well, time will tell, but they may win me over in the end.
Well, we'll see. Neil, if audience obviously can't see, but has a nice beard going on right now, so he's probably full convert in my attempts to get him back to the pointy ears. Probably we're gonna fail.
I mean, I'll tell you though, like from my perspective, I'm on the other side of the scale, where this is what I've been waiting for, because most of the armies that have been coming out now, anything with new sculpts, has been, well, I guess other than Grotz, but or Gits or whatever the goblins, everything else has been AOSified, So I was super excited to see them say, hey, we're not afraid to just update what was, because I would, again, I've been telling you guys for years now, I've been chomping at the bit to see what an AOS Free People Survivor looks like.
Yeah.
There is no way that they're still wearing pantaloons. No pantaloons, no poofy sleeves. It's
according to the cover of my battle tome right here. They are.
Well, yeah, that's because they didn't want to make new sculpts for that. But also on top of that, though, like even on that cover, you can tell, like, right.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah,
it's even toned down. Like, I don't even mind if they keep the poofy sleeves as long as it veers a little bit away from historical and a little bit more into fantastical.
It needs to be a little more gritty, I think, too. But
okay.
And again, like I said, as far as that goes, High Elves, I don't think is the place for grit. Leave that for the humans, the dwarves.
Skaven.
Yeah, honestly, my only problem is Skaven's not going to change. They're going to look
why
exactly
would you?
the
They are perfect as they are. But well, anyway, Matt, let's throw it over to you. And what's been on your hobby table the past 5 months?
Well, mostly I've been on hiatus after Nova. Just haven't really had the itch, haven't had the bug. Also, I was waiting for the KO book because if I was going to paint something else, I wanted it to be something, because I'm starting to get to the point where I'm running out of room for models. So if I'm going to have it, I want to use it. So it's mainly
throw out your furniture.
Just
chuck that couch away. Put a shelf in.
We do have extra couches.
Just get Heroes Quest furniture.
That's all you need. That's
all Heroes Quest furniture, and you're good.
But yeah, so I've been waiting for that, and so now, right now, the main goal is to essentially wait to see what the fallout is from our 2 major events, and hopefully to divine some knowledge from there. I still have. I have the big Battle Force box that hasn't been, or not the Battle Force, that was the other thing. The Start Collecting box, which has everything but the gun hauler.
Oh, for Caradron.
For KO, because I have everything except for the gun hauler, which I did for Holy Havoc, Holy Wars.
Mm-hmm. Holy Havoc. Yep.
Holy Havoc. I can't remember anymore. And then I also have I had like a couple boxes left over from whenever they first came out that I was like, oh, the rules aren't good for these. I won't use them then. But now that like pretty much everything is you can put on the table, just gotta figure out how to build it.
Well, actually, while we're on the briefly touching upon the subject of Holy Havoc, how did you like it in general? I know you've talked about it elsewhere, but I guess that has happened in the past 5 months for us.
Yeah, that is very true. So, I mean, as far as that went, I'm so glad that we went. It was an absolute blast. It was an amazing experience. Honestly, I think the only regret I had is not coming up with a little bit more of a crunchier list.
I think, yeah, I have to agree. And for the audience, Matt and I went as partners. I took my Teyrathian cult, my daughter's Kane. Yeah, it was a great event. Stunning tables. Steve is a fantastic host as well as a TO. Midwest crew always puts on a great event. Super friendly, super welcoming. Had a great time. I think, Matt, and we'll try and drag Neil out. We need to go to Holy Wars so we can all flex our narrative might individually and hopefully start swinging at each other with our warlords.
I should have all 10 of my gun haulers ready at that point.
Oh, you're down to 10? Oh,
10 in a frigate.
I thought you were going for an admiral's dozen.
10 in a frigate. 10 in a frigate.
And then a frigate. I like it.
Maybe you could start that. You can call 10 an admiral's dozen. And...
Yeah, there you go. It's your narrative. You make it up as you go.
That's right. That's right. You gotta have a
argue with you. Yes. I guess for myself, my hobby past 5 months, it's been kind of a on and off. Like may or may not be aware, I kind of took a small step back from my blog. I'm just kind of posting on it as I want. Obviously, this podcast, trying to get this going again and not be as much as a false start. Trying to just make sure I balance everything appropriately on the content. And I'd like to get back to YouTube, but as my wife tells me, I'm not funny alone. So Matt, Neil, I and Sean, if you're listening, I'll need your help because, yeah, I apparently need someone with me. And as far as actual hobby and painting goes, man, I've knocked out all my endless spells, all my Underworld's war bands, my war cry, every Daughter's Kane model I had.
Like you say, every Underworld's war band. How many Underworld's war bands do you have?
Okay, no, only the good ones. So if it's Elf, if it's a Stormcast, and if it's the Khorne ones that came with the box when I bought it originally. So not all of them. All the ones I have are done.
From here, I'm looking at 4 unpainted war bands. building number 5.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Matt is all in. I like what I like with that game. I guess more exciting and not. I guess I don't know. We're more of definitely an Age of Sigmar podcast, but I painted. I'm looking at them right now. 9,000 points of Dark Angels in a week during the New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. I can tell you. No, after painting Daughters of Khaine for all year, I mean, still Daughters of Khaine never stops for me. But when I put on the power armor and I just primed them the color, I dry brushed them, I detailed and gave them an entire wash, and I did 2,000 points in 13 hours and 46 minutes. Is what I time myself as. Man, Space Marines paint up so easily. I mean, you don't sweat the details. Like 3-foot rule, they look great. If you look detail, they're okay. I have decent brush control, but all I can say is it makes my heart sad whenever I think of memories when I walk into a 40K hall at a major event and the quality is less than what I did in a week for 4 times the amount of army. It's not as much. There's some great 40K armies out there, but yeah, it was fun. It was quick. And then I went right into my Slaanesh army, which I'm currently working on for Adepticon. And man, it's a grind. It's definitely not 8,000 points of Stormcast in a week. It's a unit a week, it feels like. But we're getting there. We're getting there.
See, now you're painting at the exact speed that I paint everything.
It's Matt. This is gonna sound like a shot, but it's not. With the Slaanesh army, I'm actually trying.
That sounds like a shot at yourself more than anything.
Oh, okay, sure, fair. It's the goal of this army because I've always done tabletop and I'll get the highlights, get it out there, and I'll take a little extra bit on heroes. But for this, I want the whole army. I want to be able to set it down on a table, and I want you guys to look at it and be like, you didn't paint that. You're not that good. I'll be like, yeah, I am. I have pictures. I proved it. I can paint. And then you'll be like, do you have newspaper clippings of times and stamps? I'm like, no. And then you didn't paint it. So
yeah, you didn't paint on the other side to prove that Alex wasn't there.
Oh man. But yeah, that's what I got going on. We are going to continue as one of the things I'm carrying over from the old format, though. Our fitness check-ins. So I'll start, and we'll just reverse this order here. I've been hitting up the gym as I usually do on my lunch breaks at work. Taking a little notebook out here. Last year, because I tracked it, just like I track painted models, I went to the gym 254 times.
Ooh.
Well, workouts. But yeah, no, it definitely made me realize how much of a habit it's become, and I'm really happy for that because it's a healthy habit. I am trying to do better this year at when my body is screaming for me to take a break, to actually take a break for like a week. I am bad at that because it's become so habitual that if I don't go to the gym, I feel irritable. It's yeah, definitely not something I would thought I'd have in my life, but skill meal prepping still on that game. Looking to try and do another Stormcast Strong Strength Hammer fitness challenge here in the near future. I'll put that out on Twitter, but that's all very in the making. Outside of that, I did set a couple fitness goals for myself this year. That hopefully you guys will cheer me on at. And Neil, I know you'll appreciate the first one. Within the first half of the year, I want to go to a CrossFit competition. Preferably it'll be a scaled competition for my first one, but I really want to go and just experience it. Not so much worry about how I do, but just kind of experience it. And then the back half of the year, I'm going to switch my training. I'm going to train and go to a powerlifting competition. So yeah, these competitions, I haven't decided which ones yet, but I just know I'm going to go to one.
Nice.
I'm a little, like, I've seen these competitions online. And I guess I'll caveat this, the powerlifting. I may do a strongman if my strength really increases. We'll see about that. A little ways off for that, though, I feel. But like strongman competitions and powerlifting competitions are fantastic because you're seeing people lift weights and like that, like new personal records, PRs, and it's fun and exciting. And then I look at a CrossFit competition. I don't quite understand it yet, even though I do CrossFit pretty much every day, because I don't know how you cheer for someone working out. Because it's just hard workouts. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Matt, how about yourself? What have you been working on for your fitness?
Well, so been cutting back greatly. This is one of the few sodas of the week. It might not look like it, but I'm almost down. I think the last time I checked was like 25 pounds.
Wow. Awesome.
That's me clapping the microphone and knowing everybody listening on audio.
I think I have to get new pants soon. Barely
Awesome.
stand up, but still a long way. There's been no real relief in the back pain department. If anything, now I'm fighting. My hips are feeling a little strained, so I'm trying to dial back without stopping, and it's a weird place to be in.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, 25 pounds is nothing to brush under the rug. I mean, and it's just going to keep going. That's awesome. Was that like a diet change, or just outside of the soda, or was it literally just dropping soda?
No, so I basically will just kind of touch soda every once in a while, either whether I go into a group situation or just on the weekend, and then rapid water intake. Before it was like I would have like a bottle of water a day, and then maybe something not so bad like a tea or something. But now it's just been, not only has it just been all water, it's been the whatever the people recommend. I forget how much it is. I have a bottle that you're supposed to drink 2 of a day, and I've been drinking like 1.5.
Yeah, I track my meals and my water intake, and I'm drinking water a lot, but I can't even touch how much water you're supposed to have in a day. So,
Well, like I said, I mean, at the end of the day, doctors nowadays do say if you're not thirsty, don't drink. You're not doing anything. Other than that, the other thing that I started doing, which sounds a little reverse, but I've been eating more for breakfast. I've been getting more calories in, because before I was only doing about 300 calories And so then basically it would be like I would start getting like a little shaky before lunch, and then lunch at our at work is ridiculously expensive, so I buy as little as humanly possible. And so then I get to like 2 o'clock and I'm like, okay, I need some sort of snack or something. And then it'll be like a hard boiled egg or something, but sometimes it's um, like a yogurt that's not necessarily low fat or something like that. So increasing the calories in the morning gets me to lunch without a problem, and then from there it goes lunch to dinner without really any real issue.
We we need to get you meal prepping as well to make it easier. It feels like a struggle, but it's an hour for me on Sunday, and my lunches are done and breakfast is for the entire week. It's so easy.
What sort of thing do you prep for lunch all week?
Uh, it kind of depends on what my goal is. Like right now, since I'm kind of getting into heavier training, I definitely want lots of carbs and protein. So it's usually a meat, whether it's beef, chicken, turkey, or this week it's fish or something different. And then I'll cook up some broccoli, a little bit of butter, salt in a frying pan, and then rice, just jasmine rice, and then I'll put a little seasoning on it. On occasion, some like was it it's a Japanese sushi seasoning. I'll just put a little bit on it just for a little bit of flavor on the rice. But I've also grown up with my father's taste where I could eat the same thing day in and day out without issues. So kind of comes down to that. But if I'm trying to cut down my my body fat, I'll do salads, or if I'm doing keto, I'll obviously prep the high fats, and I'll bring nuts to snack. So it'll vary, but just the fact of meal prepping, one, because like I look at it in the fashion of every night before I go to bed, I pack my gym bag, I lay out my clothes for the next day, and why would I want to also stress about lunch? Like if I'm preparing everything that's so inconsequential, lunch should be just as simple. It should be, I should always know where my next meal is coming from. It's like I don't want to have to worry like, oh, where am I going to eat for lunch today? It's like I'm just going to grab this, I'm going to eat and keep going, and and then dinner times, I'll mix it up.
The squirrel eluded me today, but tomorrow
I have 2 rocks for tomorrow's squirrel hunt. But no, that's great. Congrats on the weight loss. Keep at it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And now we're gonna throw it over to Neil on his fitness check-in.
So what I've been trying to do is change up the diet a little bit, because I got a rude awakening with some with my blood pressure recently, which has not been good. So taking a look at my diet right now, trying to mix in more vegetables and all the bad things, your high fats, all that kind of stuff. Been struggling with reflux over the last year or two, so a lot of changes need to happen there as well. But still trying to figure out how to manage life with kids and a family, and still make it to the gym. So, because the options are pretty much 5:30 a.m. And if you know me, that's not a great time for me. I did manage to do that for like 2 years while I was doing CrossFit, but boy, it took every fiber of my mental health while I was trying to do that. So I have to find a way to make those two meet in the middle. Because working out at 7 o'clock, of course, is not an option with trying to get kids, and actually see your kids when you get about 2 hours before they go to bedtime. After you get home with work. Then by the time I get them to bed, you see I have a cup of coffee right here. I'm so tired that it's not happening after they go to bed. That's for sure. Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out right now too.
For your reflux, what do you have any specific triggers?
So for a little while there, what actually got me to call into the doctor's office is I would eat something and I would have a chest pain. And I'm just like, whoa, and I I'm a physical therapist, so I know the signs of a heart attack. I know it's not that kind of stuff. And so I'm like, something clearly, is not going well with whatever I'm eating. And so, after I went to the doctor's office, they're basically no high fat foods, no acidic foods. So, I'm an Italian boy, so no pasta sauce, like red sauces, stuff like that. Got God, fried foods, fatty, no pop, things like, pop is terrible for reflux and all that too. So, and I was a big diet pop drinker for a long time there. That dates back to actually a changeover when I was in college because I was drinking lots of regular soda and I was trying to lose weight. And so I switched over to diet pop just to get the less calories, whatever, but it's still just as bad, if not worse, So now we're trying to get away from that bad habit now too. But yeah, so the big one's just trying to get in the gym now too and figure out how I can do that. So
yeah, I have to admit on my front, mostly because you come across incredibly young, Neil.
Mm-hmm.
I forget you have kids sometimes. Like until I see you
that's
post them on
because
Facebook,
I bring the maturity level way down. Yeah. I keep my maturity level at a certain level, so that's why. But no, it's I'm actually about to hit 39 in the next month. So March 5th, we'll hit 39. So we got a year left on the right side of the hill. So, Amy and I are doing this thing we call 20 by 40. To make sure we lose 20 pounds by the time we hit 40. So that's kind of the goal there. It's kind of a silly thing, but it has a good ring to it. So we'll see if we can manage it.
No, you got to tell her you're going the wrong way. You got to put on 20 pounds of muscle.
Yes,
you need to bulk up 60
right.
pounds for the next 3 months.
Yeah. That would put me at a solid 260. I don't know if my frame handles that very well. So.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's good that you're looking to take care of yourself because, I mean, one, you have kids, and two, it's, the healthier we are, the more we get to hang around and roll dice and have opinions on a podcast.
You got it. But talking about CrossFit, Chuck, they do a lot of smaller CrossFit competitions, I guess you'd call them. You wouldn't call them tournaments or anything like that, but they have a lot of them around here. So maybe at some point you get into that. I'll have to bring you this way so I can watch.
Yeah, no, like I said, I'm looking all around Ohio, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. I'm trying to stay on the west side of Pennsylvania because I don't like Philadelphia. But who does? But yeah, no. Let me know if you hear any, because that'd be great. But yeah, I guess to next segment is our main topic, which that's a classic name right there in my show notes. The main topic. Today we're gonna just talk about each one of us. We're gonna go through and talk about what's our favorite AOS faction, why, and how did you stumble into it? Like what led you there? This kind of ties into how the format of this show is changing. So we're not going to do any news. We're not going to talk deep about any rules. So many great things, and content creators do that better. We will probably dive into lore, because I think we all kind of like the lore. I mean, I'm a narrative gamer. Matt, you went to a narrative event with me. Neil, I'm assuming you're a narrative guy as well on some level.
Mm-hmm.
Based on your match play performance.
Right.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, 2 and 3 is about average, if not above average.
Yeah, I strive for 2 and 3. All right.
But yeah, like I said, we may go down rabbit holes. I'd rather just have a conversation with some friends than try and have a show that's going to educate people in the ways of how to play this game, because like I said, better people are doing that than us. So, yeah. Matt, you were the OG on this podcast as far as loving dwarves, Duradin.
Yep.
And whenever we talked briefly before the show began, I asked what you're going to talk about, and you said you didn't know, and I said Duradin, and you said yeah, probably. So let's start with you. Like, talk about your favorite AOS faction. Go. Floor is yours.
Yeah, so like I say, how it all started was, I started off in 40K, and fantasy was such a draw because I've been playing D&D since I was 8, and so like I'm just used to the human, elf, dwarf, halfling, gnome, the basic stuff from D&D, and so whenever I saw fantasy, I saw mummies, vampires, like whole armies of vampires. It blew my mind, like dinosaur people. But at that time, I basically, whenever I was playing D&D, I pretty much always played humans. And so whenever I was looking to get into fantasy, I was like, well, I don't want to do humans like I always do. I want to do something else. And so I kind of was reading the lore and reading how the armies play and whatnot. And whenever it came to the old dwarfs, uh, it was so cool. You know, these just not necessarily angry, but just just
Curmudgeon-y.
Yeah, just these hard tooth, never back down, almost underdogs. And their playstyle at the time was your front line doesn't really do anything, and all your artillery behind your front line does all the work. And so I really liked that playstyle as well. So it started off by me getting the old Dwarfs Battalion box, which I'll take the opportunity to give a shout out to old school GW customer service. The box had two. They were just like, I think it was like the A sprue and 2B sprue. Well, mine had 3A and 1B. So I called them and I was like, hey, do you need me to like send this one, like this extra one to you or whatever? And so what they did, instead of like, oh, send it back, whatever, send the whole box back or anything like that, they just sent me 2 additional B sprues. So I had essentially a box and a half.
Nice.
Yeah, and so from there, to no real surprise to anyone that knows me, I never actually got around to playing fantasy.
Yeah,
but
I didn't know you before Age of Sigmar, right?
Right.
Did we know? We didn't know each other before then.
Like I said, we knew each other like right before AOS came out.
Okay.
And then you're the one that really pulled me into it. Like I was like, oh, it's kind of cool. I bought the box set, but I was still more of a 40K player at the time. But whenever it came to AOS, then the dwarfs became the Duarden, which then became the Dispossessed. And prior to the General's Handbook, the Dispossessed were actually really good. They were really good, and they were really fun to play as. And then we had the South Coast GT came out with their rule or with their point values. Point values made them even better. Spam Thunderers, spam Coilers, get a bunch of Dwarf Warriors on the front. So it still maintained that play style. And then for me, the Dispossessed kind of fell apart, and I think this is for most people really. Whenever that first General's Handbook came out, and the points were just outrageous for the Dispossessed. I mean, it made them to the point where to bring 10 Hammerers, you could bring 10 Retributors for roughly the same point cost and do about 4 times the amount of damage with a better save value. And so there I kind of wandered. Fire Slayers came out. I tried to get into Fire Slayers, but as everyone knows, first edition Fire Slayers weren't exactly the best. And it's for, like, I know a lot of people were able to really still get some production out of them, but for me, who's like, I've never been like the guy to like just have one army and play it to memorization for whatever reason. So it's like trying to sit down and learn this army that just doesn't feel right, and it just, it kept me wandering. Then the murmurs of the Steelhead Duarden that started almost immediately. I'm like, oh man.
No one was even thinking about flying too. Like you were talking to me all the time. You're like, man, I hope they're in giant armored suits. I mean, you were wish listing pretty hard, and it sounded great.
Oh yeah, I'm still wish listing hard. I want them in like, there's that. The original hero I was going to do for Holy Havoc was the dwarf statue from, I forget what it is. from Monster something or other. If you
Yeah,
Google
the
dwarf
3D
statue,
printed one.
yeah, it pretty much comes up pretty much immediately. I was going to cut the top off and put a dwarf in the top with like a little control deck.
See, I gave you a better idea with that. I told you take a gyrocopter,
Oh
cut
yeah,
away so much, and make it a Dr. Robotnik type robot where his little flying contraption comes in from Sonic, 1, 2, and 3, lands in it, and controls it. I'm still
I
mad you
totally
didn't
agree
do
with.
that.
Well, I mean, but that requires skill and drive, which
Which any good dwarf would have. So,
uh, yeah.
oh, he just passed by. Okay, never mind.
But yeah, I kind of wanted a whole army of that. I wanted essentially the ground force of what KO is, which still holding out. Grogny will be back, 2022. Heard it here first.
Well, I guess what are you doing right now to show your love for the Warden? Where are you sitting? What are you playing? What are you painting? Like,
Well, I have a full Fire Slayers list, which I'll still pull out and try and play with. Again, I can't figure out how to play with them, which is why I'm going to have to go back after this and watch that LVO finals. See what.
well, it's I'm not sure. It looked to be in their favor. It wasn't over yet when we started recording, which I guess the
still.
time stamp it. We're recording it January 26th at 9:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Well, at the last, was it summer tournament, whenever I brought Fire Slayers to the Ren 4 tournament, I went. Did I win a game? I either went 1-4. No, I went 0-5. I went 0-5.
That's because
Did I win a game?
it's because you never played Skaven.
Yeah, it was, and again, well, I said, and to be completely fair, looking back after the games, I was like, okay, yeah, I see a lot of tactical errors I did on my side. There's a lot of bookkeeping with them, with the runes and everything. And of course, every time I put down that stupid magma wall, which I can't remember the name of right now, it would always stay. That was where it was for the rest of the game. Like, I just need it there for like 2 to 3 rounds, and then it can go away, and I'm happy. Nope, down, stays. I brought the molten Infernoth, the lava monster, which, don't let anyone tell you that thing is not good. It might not block line of sight, but you put that in front of a giant block of 40 clan rats. Well, that whole clan rat now has to figure out how do I get around this stupid thing. Especially if they move forward, and I'm just going to move it back. You have to do it again, split, and then I just take one flank over the other.
Yeah, no, that's the key thing with like those prayers and endless spells, just blocking up lanes to get through. I recently played a game against Korn, and he brought all the judgments, and I was playing my Slaanesh, and he screwed me up because I physically couldn't move. Like, with all the terrain, he just put him out there. He's like, I don't care, I'm gonna fly over them. I'm like, I hate you. I can't do.
Yeah,
I just have to sit here and wait to die.
well, that's the problem. Only one time in the entire weekend did my Infernoth stay out for more than one turn. But yeah, so needless to say, whenever Fire Slayers came back out, I got back into them because they were real. I liked the updates for them. So I have a Hammerhall dispossessed exclusive list built, and I think it might be able to win a game at a tournament. Depending on how low on the ladder I start. Again, the biggest issue is the same thing with all Duarden and Foot, 4-inch move. That's always the biggest crux. Anyone with a 6-inch move is just going to go and just, I don't feel like being hit by you, so I'm going to go 2 inches further than you can. And
Why am I glad I play 6-inch move elves all the time?
Well, that's one of the nice things. That's one of the nice things about the KO army I'm also working on is movement's no longer an issue. um, where they left Arkanauts and Thunderers, you're really not moving them. Essentially, you're either going to take a backfield objective with them, or you're going to essentially drop the kids off the trailer at the water park, and water park meaning objective, and and they're not going to move because someone's either going to come up to them and then they're just going to get washed away after like a turn or two, or people are going to do something else, and you might be able to get a shot or two off.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least you're trying to keep the Warden flag,
Oh yeah,
banner waving proudly. So, I mean, if we can get you to grow a beard, though, just to complete the whole look.
Well, you tell my jeans to do that, and
you bought the hat for Holy Havoc. You have the dwarf beard hat.
It still smells bad.
Gotta suffer, Matt. You gotta suffer for your craft.
Oh, it smells like mildew, though.
I know. It did smell bad.
Oh,
but
the hat, the top hat that I bought, never showed up.
Oh, good job, Amazon.
Yeah, for the little background perspective, the original plan was I was actually going to buy a hat and steampunk it up. I already bought like all the accessories and everything for it at the local craft store, and then since I have such a frigging big head, I couldn't find a top hat big enough, so I found one that was like under $100 and big enough. So I ordered it 2 weeks in advance with 2-day shipping. Never showed up. Kept delaying. Called them. Oh, it's on its way. Blah, 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 blah. And even after the tournament, never showed up.
Man.
And they were like, oh, the last time we see it was at a warehouse, but they can't find it. I'm like, well, when were you going to tell me? And they're like, we weren't.
Yep, sounds about right. But I as much as I'd love to break up the Dwarden love that's flying around here, but Daughters of Cain.
Which Dwarden army is your favorite?
Me? My favorite? Oh, I don't know. Because I did have an old dwarf army in 8th edition, and it's actually the only models I have that I didn't rebase into AOS, just because I'm primarily an elf player. I always have been, always will be, and I dabble in Dwarden, I guess. I have to say, if I was going to buy one right now, I would be doing a Caradron fleet, and I would be doing all boats. I would not a single ground troop. Just
there it is. There it is.
Yep. Just that's entirely what I would be doing right now. So, but I
love me some Balloon Boys. That's
yeah, Balloon Boys hurt, but no, I guess we'll keep this frigate floating and go over to Neil, because I've known him as an elf player who then played Khorne for a long time, and now has a beard and is building KO. I think his opinions have changed. So why don't you tell us about your favorite faction, Neil? And
so
why you stumbled upon it?
I'll give you a little background on this. So, like Chuck said, I've primarily been an elf player for the longest time, but before AOS, before old fantasy, before any of that, I used to build, World War II airplane models, bombers, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So, with the advent of the boats getting better, I've always kind of looked at these things and thought, that's pretty cool, and I got a hold of the starter set just on a whim. I'm like, this will be like a hobby project. I don't really have any too much plans to really make an army out of this or whatever. And I built the first gun hauler, and it felt like building those old bombers from back in the day. And so I thought to myself, well, I can build an entire army of boats. It's, as much as I love this army, if it didn't have the boats in it, I'm not sure I would ever picked up a single model. Not that I don't think they're cool. I love the Balloon Boys. The Balloon Boys look cool, but they weren't the driving force. So what I'm trying to merge to an old love into this army. So you're talking about narrative. The narrative that I have for this army is that so I'm going to run Barrack Urbaz, which is the one that gives you the gun haulers for Battle Line.
Yep.
And so let's they're going to a free city. They're kind of based out of a free city a lot, and they're kind of doing some mercenary work in the free city. And there's I don't know what you would call it, a tavern or a bar in the city that they go and frequent quite often. And there are some ladies there that they've taken a liking to. And so what I have done is I found some pinup girl nose art that you'd find on old World War II bombers. And I'm going to put these, each one's going to have a different girl on the front, and each boat's going to be named after said pinup girl that's going to be on the nose of each one. And on the other side, what I plan to do is if this gun hauler makes it through a battle, I'm either going to have a skull or like a little bomb decal that I'm going to put on it every time they make it through a battle. It's going. They're getting a new decal just to show that they survived. So right now the goal is to get at least 10 of these things. So we'll do 10 of those. We're going to do a frigate, and then I think it's an Aether Chemist. It's going to be in there with the little purple sun, with a little spell in a bottle, so I can throw that out.
You get Ash Ketchum just throwing his Pokeball.
Just throwing his Pokeball.
Go Coffin.
So try and wipe out hordes and stuff like that. So. But talking about narrative versus match play, I'm a lot more comfortable playing match play. That's not to say I'm good at it, because of the things that I enjoy. If there's something I enjoy about an army, I tend to get fixated on that. I play a lot of Khorne, and I'm into the Khorne Mortals, which is probably not the most competitive way to play Khorne at the moment. But darn it if I'm not going to try. And that usually leads to your nice 1-4 or 2-3 finish.
Real quick, I want to go back to the idea you have about like making these like World War II type plane bombers and items like that, including like the pinup girl on the side, the classic look. I hope you also are planning on like if you have a blonde pinup girl, name it like Alariel's Vengeance, and like name it after the female characters. Just like whenever you face a Sylvaneth player for Alariel's going to try and kill that frigate that's named after her that has a blonde pinup girl. I hope you do stuff like that too. Just to, that's how you get your narrative involved, even in match play, just to keep it going.
Oh yeah, there's plans. I'm still kind of there's 10 of them I've got to name, so I've got to come up with some good stuff there. But we'll see what I come up with. So
I promise if you name one like after Teyrathi, my OC character for my Dodge Kane, whatever you name, it can be a gun hauler, and you can throw it off to the farthest side. I will deploy my whole army on that side to kill it. Like that needs to come down.
I'll tell you right now, Tay-Tay's Tatas.
It's going to be something lewd too. It's got to really drive home the point. It's not going to be PG, that's for sure. But
90 witch elves coming to that gun hauler.
Tay-Tay's Tatas, I love it.
That's how you're going to win the game off me.
That might actually have to happen.
So with the spell in the bottle, I know there's been a lot of hoopla about that. The one combo that I really like that I haven't heard anyone talk about is dropping the sigil of Tzeentch next to a block of Arcanauts, and then whenever you roll, hoping to get that one, to start pulling out Chaos Spawn.
That's funny.
I figured out how to make Arcanauts useful again. That's
turning into the Chaos Spawn.
It's a story for another day. One of the things though I just love about this particular army is just your ability to hobby it. I mean, you can do so much with these boats, and I see, I'm on Twitter a lot, and I'm seeing what people are doing with some of these things, and it's just wild what people come up with these boats. Some of them, turning into like airships with sails, and I've seen a lot of pirate type stuff going on there too. It's just the possibilities are endless. I think one of the guys off the Mortal Realms podcast made like a goblin kind of deal with it, like almost like a walker thing coming off of there. Who was that?
Yeah, that was Paul.
That's
DJ
Paul.
Shard on Twitter.
Yeah.
Is that the one where they had all the balloon boys were just inflated squigs with grots underneath? I haven't seen that on.
No, I don't.
I've seen that, but I think that might be Australia
on Reddit and Facebook. So I have to say that person um, astounds me with their talent, and also just drives a knife into my Dwarden funny bone. Like, no, no dwarf is going to be riding a squig, and those are dwarf rules. You leave them alone.
Oh man! But in regards to that army though that I'm playing, I've been playing a friend of mine, Dave Roke, who plays Beastclaw Raiders, and uh, he has the best attitude about that army I think I've played anybody against. He uses those giant ogre dice that somehow only roll ones for him. I don't know. That's all they roll. If you know he'll get through his shooting or whatever, he'll get to the wound phase, boom, it's a one. Like everything can go right, and finally it's a one. And he's just cackling about it. I mean, he doesn't care at all. Like I don't know. He expects it to be just, one way or the other with that army, and just is going into it. And so that's really how I want to play this army too. Is it's going to fly up, it's going to drop in. I'm going to be playing Flight of the Valkyries, behind, annoying everybody on the table, and I'm going to shoot your heroes off as best as I can, and then I'm going to see what happens after that. That's as far as the strategy goes, really. So, and we'll have
hashtag just shoot the heroes.
That's right.
So Chuck, can I go a little into rules and strategy, just because before we started?
No, I'm not saying we can't do that. I'm just saying that it's probably not going to be our main points. Go ahead as much as you want. So yeah, of course.
So before here, I actually just had some back on that plate. I had 5 Thunderers for some reason. I don't know. I had them. So. And I also had 5 Brutes up here. So what I did is I tested out how well they can last with the Thunderers and tucking a Chemist on the inside. I don't know if they're going to FAQ it at some point, because it feels like something they might, but at the same time, it might be something that was intended. I don't know. So to shed a little more light on that, the Thunderers have a rule that if they have a Fumigator, any enemy model that attempts to attack while within 3 inches of a unit with a Fumigator takes -1 to hit. The Chemist also has a rule, because before it used to be -1 attack. Now it's if you're within 3 inches, you do -1 to hit as well. So I tucked a Chemist in the middle of Thunderers, which, anything with reach will be able to get to him, but that's neither here nor there. So the 5 Brutes were going in at -2 to hit, and the damage output from the Thunderers wasn't anything to write home about. But in 2 rounds of combat, I did this I only did it maybe 5 times, so it's not a true test or anything like that. But in each one of those times, I think the most that was lost, one time 3 Thunderers were lost in one combat, and on average it was 2, but there was 2 or 3, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 times there was no losses. And I was like, I wonder if this would work actually on the on the table, because at 100 and I think they're 120 points now. It just seems like a lot to bring them up to 10 to hold an objective, because now you're taking away from your boat points, you're taking away from your balloon boy points, you're taking away from your hero points. So I'm interested that whenever I start, because I want to get I want to get my balloon boys at least painted so I can put them on their bases, so I can start testing the army and start testing builds. That's going to be that's going to be the thing that I'm looking forward to the most of playing.
And now you see why we're not going to focus on rules, everybody. No, kidding. I had to throw the shade at you. But yeah, no, actually, we can talk about rules as we want. I guess preface it for the audience is it won't be our focus. It's going to come up from time to time, and I'm sure we'll cover events where we played games, competitive, narrative. So I just don't want anyone thinking that they're going to be tuning in for the top table breakdowns of army books. go watch Man Reed's book.
If
and
you
make your
want
own
to know
decisions.
those hard strats going on at the bottom tables.
Yeah. Bottom table bullies.
Ooh, there we go. Do new club name. Well, hopefully our audience has had their Duardin fill, because I know I have. But talk about my favorite army, the Daughters of Cain. It's no hidden secret that is my favorite faction. I guess it's a little interesting how I stumbled into it, because I used to be a High Elf player back in 8th Edition Fantasy. I had 10,000 points of High Elves, loved them nonstop, hated the Dark Elves, fully bought in. Then the End Times happened, and Malekith was the true Phoenix King and shattered my world. Like, I've told this elsewhere, but I'll tell it here. But when End Times Cain was going on, and I was reading through the book, and I turned to the page where Malarian, was walking through the flame to be crowned the Phoenix King. I literally put the book down and walked away, and I could not finish it for another 2 days. Like, it shattered my world. As silly as it is, but like, we get that invested into this hobby and the lore. So, finished off the End Times, continued on, kind of did High Elves a little bit when they carried over when the Wild West days. Started dabbling a little bit. I know, Matt, I played you once. I took Dark Elves, like a Darkling Coven style. I'm not sure if it was Darkling Covens at the time, but you shot me off in like turn 1, and I was like, okay, these aren't working. And then I was like, all right, I'll play Stormcast, because that's where everything was happening. And I played Stormcast for a while, and then I kept on that, and I dabbled in Khorne a little bit. But then I was like, no, I want to get back to some sort of elf. So I was actually looking of trying to do, because Darkling Covens had rules. This was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, I think. Right before Daughters of Cain came out, and I was looking to buy up a bunch of stuff online. People were selling, Executioners, Blackguard. That was going to be my Adepticon army, and then I bought some Executioners off of Domus on Twitter. A wonderful human being and a good friend. Lucky to have him as a friend. And he even and he also sent me a message after I bought, agreed to buy him off him. He's like, hey, I have a bunch of Witch Elves. There was like 80 of the old Meta Witch Elves. I had 15, because like I said, I was a High Elf player, not a Dark Elf player, and he was just trying to offload them. And I think he sold them to me for like $1 a piece. I'm like, yeah, sure. And then started looking at the very loose rules we had for the Daughters of Cain. I was like, yeah, it's kind of interesting. And at that time, you could stack the Cauldron buff, so you could have like a really defensible army, and it looked pretty crazy. And I said, you know what, screw it, I'm going all in. I was going to do Daughters of Cain for Adepticon. 3 weeks into painting and going, we get trailers that start showing off Daughters of Cain, and then the book drops, and I was just like, I was just hooked. I fell in love with the craziness of Morathi, everything she was trying to do.
Can I just say, real quick, Chuck, that intro video they did, the preview for Daughters of Cain, it still hasn't been touched. It's still my favorite reveal video of all time.
Absolutely. Slaanesh came close, but the hard rock just beats out that EDM music. But yeah, I agree. And actually, I know the audience can't see it. I have a link to it on my desktop down here in the basement. I can just play it over and over again. It is that good. It is that good. And it gets me hyped every time. But yeah, ever since then, and I started developing my Teyrathi story very loosely, and it grew over time. But I just fell in love with playing this army, and I did a Tactica article on the Warhammer community website for it, and just people know I don't shut the heck up about it, and I'm not. Even while I'm painting my Slaanesh right now, there's Cain influence because I have so many bits, and then that's on one table, and the table behind me is the next project I have, because even though I have all my Daughters of Cain models painted, I have more in the wings. I'm going to be doing armored Witch Elves, which the idea I took from Alex Gonzalez, TO of Adepticon. Just taking some Drukhari Dark Elf bits and putting Witch Elf and Canary heads and giving the shield, and just kind of almost like as if they're like a Cities of Sigmar type thing, I guess. They look like a regiment, with some armor, but they're still very much Witch Elves. And actually, well, we'll go into narrative maybe in the next future episode, but I'm going to tie it to a narrative and to a city and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I'm trying to think how to say the next part without offending anybody, but
I was only raised... like armies with naked ladies. We get it. Yeah.
Well, no. um, actually, the way I play them is I almost never take any sort of magic. I always take the prayer heavy list, which is kind of, it's not super competitive, but it's what I like. And being raised, I guess, Catholic, and then growing up and being like, wow, religion's a bunch of BS, I'm out. But then when I go to the fantasy setting, it's like, oh, let's just be crazy fanatical faith people. For some reason, that's how my brain wants to do it. So I fell in love with that aspect of just like, praying to Cain and buffing yourself up and running forward and keep getting stronger and stronger as you lose models, because you're dying pretty quickly, but every turn you have a model left alive, man, that witch elf is going to put in more and more work. Yeah, like the lore has grabbed me. I love how Marathi, she's walking around, she's like, oh yeah, I'm a god, and all the elf gods are like, nah, you're really not. And then her goal is to steal the power of the worship of Cain. I love the whole dark twistedness of it, which, like I said, it's very odd because I grew up as a high elf lover. So I guess that was like my good Christian boy days. Now I've fallen, but
well, I guess whenever you're done with your thought, I would like to hear what you have to say about the new light elves. Whenever you're done gushing about your elven women.
We can dive into that here in a minute, but it's just, for me, it's play style. I guess when I picked up Khorne, what I wanted was the rampaging horde running forward, screaming Khorne's name and just slaughtering everything. And it's not what we got with Khorne. Khorne is very regimental, which I'd like. It's martial prowess. It's regimental. It's very, it's very bloodthirsty, but it's very militant. Which wasn't how I want to play any type of army. And Daughters of Cain gave me what I wanted as well. I mean, Neil, I think I played you that year with my Daughters of Cain, and I out-Khorned Khorne because you were playing Khorne.
Yeah.
And so many times Khorne players would throw themselves at me. I'd be like, okay, you done? Neat. Your army's gone. Not so much anymore. Not the new Khorne book makes it much more difficult. But play style, lore. I love the models. Actually, that's the other thing with the next batch of witch elves, because I have 210 of the old metal witch elves, which is great, but I want to have 90 plastic witch elves. So I'm going to have at least 30, which are the armored ones. I'll have 30 regular ones, classic plastic witch elf, and then I'm going to do 30 more. But I'm going to figure out how I want to convert them. I'm going to convert them again, but I'm not sure how heavily or in what direction. But
you're going to stop at 90 plastic. You're not just going to do 10 more.
Well, I have 210 metal, so that'll give me 300 total witch elves. All right, fine. I'll do 100. I'll do 100 plastic witch elves. Okay, fine. I do want to try and build some more Qunari and Melusai, like some snakes and harpies this year too. So we'll get there. I'll need your support. But
some point after nuclear holocaust, somebody's going to dig up Chuck's house, and they're going to find all these witch elves, and they're going to think that we worship these things.
All those witch elves are going to meld into a plastic protective case, and you'll be fine.
They'll be living under it.
Listen, I've told my wife many times I want a Viking burial, and instead of treasure, I want all my witch elves in the boat with me. That's it. That's it. I love the play style. I love the lore. So. Right. If you miss, you get to go to Viking Hell. I think that's how it works. So you get to shoot now, Matt. Congratulations.
No, I think you go to Viking Hell. If I don't burn you alive, or if I don't hit your boat, you go to Viking Hell, I think.
Okay, we need to figure this out before I make you shoot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right.
You do 100 plastic.
That's for the future.
You do 100 plastic witch elves. I'll do 100 plastic hammerers, and Neil, you can do 100
plastic
gun 100 gun haulers.
Yeah.
I'm getting a raw deal.
Yep, you are. But no, I like I said, I'm very passionate about the army. No matter what I'm doing, like I said, right now I'm painting Slaanesh. I have Daughters of Cain waiting in the wings. I'm probably always going to be doing this army. It's my new passionate army, like my high elves were. I was always doing something with them, even when doing other armies. So that's what it'll be. Like I said, I'm planning for Daughters of Cain for the team event at Adepticon this year. I have a list printed out for my Slaanesh that I'm painting right now for the GT. I've also made 2 or 3 other Daughters of Cain GT lists because I may just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna take what I love. We'll see how it goes. Whether I want to take the Slaanesh and aim for being recognized for painting on some level, or if I just want to take what I love and just go have fun and roll Kraith dice. But yeah.
If we ever want to irk somebody, you could bring Slaanesh, and for like a team tournament, you do Slaanesh. I'll start Tzeentch, and we'll get a 0 in that sports score and get people to just walk away turn 1.
The best way to play.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a great 2,000 point Slaanesh list, but I could do a great 1,000 point Slaanesh list for sure.
And I'll just bring, I don't know, 400 points of pink horrors, and go on from there. I got contrast paints.
I guess back to what you're saying now that we're kind of done with the main topic in a way. When I think about the new Lumineth elves that just came out, I guess it's
quick aside.
Also not.
I love that name. That name is awesome. The Lumineth.
The Lumineth Realm Lords. It's a fantastic name. And when I saw the trailer for Pointy Elves, and I guess full disclosure, I am a playtester. So when I saw that, I couldn't help but laugh because I knew the real name. And it was like when they said Pointy Elves, I'm like, I hope they release the real name real quick because it's gonna be hard to say Pointy Elves. But it's I love the models. They are a great, kind of like what they did with the Chaos Warriors. Let's take what we know and love and just make it better. And they did that with this. And if you would have shown that to me back when I was a high elf player, hardcore, I would say that would be my passion project. I would have at least one of everything. I'd have 5,000 points within the first week bought, and like I said, and I'm planning. I'm going to have a 2,000 point army. I love elves in general. I'm a big fan of Teclis. I'm one of the few people who knows the truth that he's not a village idiot. That in fact he was the only one who tried to stop the end times. Now in hindsight, glad he failed because the Mortal Realms is much better. But I'm a big defender of Teclis and what he was trying to do, and seeing him come back in full godlyhood is fantastic. So I am planning on doing an army of it while I'm also painting Daughters of Cain because it was kind of interesting to see, like I said, I did the play testing, but I obviously don't see the models for that. When I saw the models with the release, when everyone else saw them, I was expecting my mind to just be like, "Whoa, high elves are back!" And those are really cool. I look forward to having them as a hobby project. And I immediately went back to think about Daughters of Cain. So it's interesting how I've changed. So I love them, but they're not going to be my forever army. That's my daughters.
By the way, I'm right there with you on Teclis. Not the village idiot. That actually takes my rage level and takes it to like a 10 whenever I hear that stuff. I'm like shaking punching the radio when I'm listening to my podcast when I hear that. But
well, listen, now there's a podcast out with the truth ringing, so we'll just have to keep bringing it, Neil.
There we go.
But I guess heck, that's a podcast, guys. We did it. 2 in 5 months. We're doing it.
All right.
What are you talking about? We got another hour. What are you talking about, man?
Another hour. Another hour.
I can go on. I have a whole bunch to talk about. My feelings, and then we were gonna do. Then we should do favorite unit. We did favorite armor. What about favorite unit? I'll start.
All right.
That's a tale for another day.
Favorite unit, besides my own, is Evocators. Evocators are so awesome. I'm like,
all right. Well, for me, it's Witch Elves. Neil, what's yours?
Oh gosh, you guys put me on the spot without thinking about this.
how about not from your army?
It's the ironclad, man. That thing is awesome looking. So cool.
Boom. There we go. See, Matt, you said in there hours, another 20
Well, I've
seconds.
not
It's
done on
easy.
evocated.
No, that's good. I guess we will wrap it up here. Ease into it. Heck, who knows? This may turn into one of those podcasts where we go 3 hours long, but we'll see if Neil's old man heart can take that level when we get there.
Oof, oof.
Ooh.
Wow. All right. Well, shots fired. All right. See if we can't get that blood pressure down 10 points.
There we go. I guess Neil, where can they find you? Where do you post? Where do you keep active?
You can find me on Twitter at Neil Larocca. Neil is in like the astronaut, so NeilLarocca. Or you can find me on Ren4 on Facebook. We run a gaming club that is, started out as an Ohio thing, but it's a pretty inclusive thing. We've got people from Michigan on there, people from all parts of Ohio, Pennsylvania, a couple people on there from Virginia. So, as long as you're positive and you're wanting to keep the community, a good, a growing place with full of positivity, please come on. I strive to keep that page something that's not like a lot of other Facebook pages and hard to stay on. So yeah, you can find me there too.
Nice. Matt, what about yourself? Where can we find you?
So I have a Twitter. I don't tweet because I have it. I just don't like people commenting on my opinions because
That's why we have a podcast. If we don't like them, we won't bring them on. That's
right, exactly. You can do comments, but I'm not going to read those. But anyway, if you wanted to send me a question or at me, it is LAZENCANTM, which is Lazenka NTM.
There we go. And then myself on Twitter and Instagram, you can find me at StrengthHammer_. So try and keep it universal until I can get the Strength Hammer without the underscore. But you can also find my blog, links to this podcast, and YouTube at strengthhammer.net. So feel free to find us there. We are going to try and do this monthly. I am. Hopefully you guys will want to join me. Probably let's aim for the third week of each month. I'll put it on the calendar and we'll see if we can stick to that. Or if not, we'll see in another 5 months. But as always, everybody, happy hobbying and stay Stormcast strong.
Good night, Internet.